The question I want to ask you is, if you don't believe in the supernatural God and you don't believe in Jesus Christ, then what do you base your decisions on, right or wrong in your life?
I'm sure people may have different answers, but my answer is I apply the test of reason and kindness. I use the yardstick of reason and kindness. If I'm contemplating an action, is it reasonable? Is it kind? And that's all you need.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, please, Dan.
I met a couple of weeks ago with some people from Christian Research Institute to debate biblical contradictions. And one fellow pointed his finger at me and said, if I shared your present atheistic philosophy, you would be dead now. I said, I'd be dead? Why? He says, because I would kill you. Without the moral restraint of the Bible, he said, I would be a wild animal, raping, running, killing, stealing, murdering. Thank God for the Bible who restrains me morally. And I thought,
I thank God for it too, because there are a lot of people who would do that. I made that point.
But you know what?
There are a lot of people who would be that way had they not the Bible to tell them not to be.
People like religion. That's what people like. They like religion. Why do they like religion? Because they like to feel like they're good people. In fact, my friend Richard Dawkins' foundation ran a census in England of the people. Last census in England asked religion, and for the very first time, only slightly more than 50% of the people in England declared themselves to be affiliated with the Church of England. 53%. They asked those people why they declared themselves, and they said, "Do you believe in transubstantiation? Do you believe in the virgin birth? Do you believe in this?" And the answer was no, 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 no. And they said, "Why are you religious?" And the answer was, "I like to think of myself as a good person," because religion has usurped that notion of morality.
I think it's degrading to the human, to us, to you and me, to imply, well, not to imply, to state directly that absent a celestial dictatorship that had some supernatural influence over us, yet to be established, by the way, as anything really existent, but without the assumption of it, we wouldn't know right from wrong. We wouldn't return stolen property if we found it in the back of a cab. We wouldn't give blood if someone badly needed a transfusion, unless we were afraid either of punishment or desirous of a reward. You could tell me if you wanted that you would do all those things if you weren't God-fearing. But I would choose not to believe you. I have more respect for you, if not for your opinions, than that. Some people who are psycho or sociopathic may conceivably have the view that only superstition restrains them from cruelty, theft, rapine, violence, utter selfishness, and so forth. But I don't believe it's true. First, I think our knowledge of right and wrong is innate in us. Religion gets its morality from humans. We know that we can't get along if we permit perjury, theft, murder, rape. All societies at all times, well before the advent of monotheism certainly, have forbidden it.
We are poorly evolved mammals on a short-lived, rather endangered planet. People say, well, if you believe that, that's depressing, nihilistic, makes things seem so random and capricious and so on. Well, yes, but is it true or not? What is true of your view? What is true of your view, sir? Well, you've just said that God makes a human species, takes a brief look at it and decides it's in rebellion against me. You deliberately went and looked for knowledge. Now you're in rebellion. Now you're going to suffer. Now there's nothing that won't happen to you. I made you and I can break you. And I will. I'll flood you, I'll plague you. Now, what is this? This is like being a terrible insect or rodent in the laboratory of a cruel and stupid person. And what is more nihilistic? What's more nihilistic and alienating than that? You have to consider yourself created incurably sick and then ordered on pain of death and eternal torture to be well. This is not morality. People do find themselves asking, if there's a God and if he's good, where is all this evil from? This is a strictly time-wasting question. Things like war and pestilence come because we are not very highly evolved animals who live on a rather climatically unstable planet and don't know very much yet about our circumstances. The way that we behave to each other is recognizable from the way that other animals behave to each other, unfortunately, but we have one very clear idea, and it's fortunately one that it's almost impossible for us to get rid of, that if we don't act responsibly to one another, whether for altruistic reasons or not, the motives don't necessarily have to be pure. But if we didn't have a social dimension, a bonding one, we wouldn't survive. We'd have gone by now. We wouldn't have made it out of Africa. The question, in a sense, answers itself. Now, you can call this morality if you want, and there certainly are some individuals who act in what appears to us to be a self-sacrificing way. And they've always got tremendous honor in all tribes, in all societies, and at all times. But it's only really necessary to recognize that we have a kinship and a solidarity, and that without it we're gone. Morality cannot be dictated to us. It doesn't come in tablet form that can be swallowed. It comes from the Socratic method of moral suasion, long reflection. Why should this be called wrong? Why would this be a dishonor? Otherwise, why do the Ten Commandments say nothing about slavery, nothing about genocide, nothing about child abuse, nothing about innumerable other things that preoccupy us and make us think, of which we think as evil, and about 4 instructions on how to worship a very jealous, capricious, and ill-tempered God?
Consider the second commandment. Thou shalt not erect any graven images. Is this really the second most important thing upon which to admonish all future generations of human beings? I mean, is this as good as it gets, ethically and spiritually? You remember the Muslims who rioted by the hundreds of thousands over cartoons. What got them so riled up? Well, this is it, the second commandment. Now, was all that pious mayhem, the burning of embassies, the killing of nuns, was all of that some kind of great flowering of spiritual and ethical intelligence? Or was it egregious medieval stupidity? Well, come to think of it, it was egregious medieval stupidity. The truth is that almost any precept we would put in place of the second commandment would improve the wisdom of the Bible. How about don't mistreat children? How about don't pretend to know things you do not know? Or what about just try not to deep fry all of your food? Could we live with the resulting proliferation of graven images? I think we would manage somehow.
One of the things that's poisoning American political life, I think, that so many people, including members of Congress and people who vote for them, think you need religion in order to be a moral person. They cannot understand how it's possible to be a moral person without religion. When you think about the ways in which religion might make you a moral person, it's ghastly. I mean, think about, take the Bible, for example. If we based our moral values on the Bible, we would be stoning adulterers to death. We would be...
Well, that does happen, sadly.
It does happen,
This is a world in which this happens.
Stoning people who break the Sabbath by picking up sticks on the Sabbath day. It's possible, of course, to find nice verses in the Bible. They're pretty rare, but you can find them. You can cherry pick. You can go through and say, well, we're going to scrap that verse and that verse and that verse. Oh, here's a nice one. We'll have that one. Scrap this one, scrap this one, scrap this one. Oh, that's another nice one. But the criterion by which you decide which are the nice verses and which are the nasty verses has to be extra biblical. It has to be a criterion that's based on something other than the Bible. Obviously, otherwise it's circular. In which case, whatever that criterion is, let's go straight for it and cut out the middleman, which is the Bible. Why bother to use that criterion to decide which verses you like and which verses you don't like? Just cut out the whole Bible and decide what's good or bad on the basis of the very criterion which you would have used to decide which verses were good and which were not.
As it happens, I've had my DNA sequenced recently. You can get yours done too. You should.
You had it done?
Yeah, you can find what we always suspected. You know, I'm half a chromosome away from a chimpanzee, related also to plant and vegetable and other matter, as well as other animals. And I don't think evolution even knows that I'm here. And I don't think that the Big Bang originated with me in mind. I'm sorry to say that I'm not as solipsistic and self-centered and arrogant as the religious would have me be. I don't think that these processes had me in mind or are aware of my presence. Doesn't make me feel that I can go and do anything I want. Why doesn't it? I don't know why it doesn't. But I do know, by counterexample, that if I put this problem to you, name me an ethical action taken or a moral statement made by a believer that could not have been made or performed by a non-believer, I very much doubt you'll be able to do it. At least no one else has been able to yet. Give you time for it. If I asked any audience, can they think of a wicked action undertaken or a wicked statement made because of religion, nobody has a single second of hesitation before they can think of one. So you have advanced the argument not at all. In fact, you've again degraded it to the view that we ought to believe foolish things, such as that we need divine permission to behave well, because if we didn't believe this, we might behave badly. Well, the facts are what they are, and the fact is that no, actually material does come first.
But I've already granted you.
The mind is a brain before it's anything else. Of course, anyone who says to the contrary is talking abject nonsense.
It seems to me that religion gives people bad reasons to be good, where good reasons are actually available. I mean, ask yourself, which is more moral? Helping the poor, feeding the hungry, defending the weak, out of a mere concern for their well-being, or doing so because you think the creator of the universe wants you to do it? The truth is, people do not need to be threatened with damnation to love their children, to love their friends, to want to collaborate with strangers, or indeed to recognize that helping strangers can be one of their greatest sources of happiness. And what kind of morality is it that is entirely predicated on a self-interested desire to escape damnation? This seems to bypass the very core of what we mean by morality, which is an actual concern for the welfare of other human beings. Clearly, it is possible to teach our children to form such a concern and to grow in empathy and compassion without lying to ourselves or to them about the nature of the universe, without pretending to know things we do not know. You can teach your children the golden rule as an utterly wise ethical precept without pretending to know that Jesus was born of a virgin.